Good morning, guys. My name's Craig Blundell, and I'm here in Bedfordshire on Stephen Wilson production rehearsals before we head out on a tour for the next part of the year, basically. So I thought it'd be great to talk you through my cymbal setup as it's changed dramatically for this tour, and it's gradually evolving. The older I get and the more genre-specific stuff I play, the cymbal setup changes massively, and thanks to my dear friends at PAISTE, they support me so well. So I've brought a selection of cymbals off my rig to show you what I'm using. First up is these. Now, I grew up listening to bands like Slayer and the heavy bands, and Rude. I've always seen them, always loved them, but it was never really a cymbal for me. It wasn't the genre of music that I played that needed a Rude cymbal. Until I played them in context with the music, and they just fitted perfectly. So my main hats are 14-inch Rudes, and PAISTE have put the tour logo on, which I was deeply thrilled about, as they don't really do that. So I was really, really thrilled they personalized the whole cymbal setup. So I'm using 14-inch Rudes. While we're on the subject of Rudes, I have two of these on the kit. I have a 12-inch setup and an 8-inch setup. Now these are prototype Rude stacks, so it's a heavy, really heavy hi-hat bottom with a mini China inside, and they sit like that. And I use them essentially as auxiliary hi-hats. They really do bite, and they add amazing stick definition. So, and you can crank them, you have them quite loose and they kind of act like a stack, or you can really crank them and they sound like a really tight pair of hats. So Rude stacks, and once again, completely honoured that they made these for me, and they sound great on the gig. Moving forward, I've got some PSTX. I've got the new 20-inch PSTX Swish Crash, along with the 18 and the 10-inch Swish Splash, which sounds great bite. It doesn't ring out so long. It just has loads of attack, which work really, really well. Crashes were a big thing for me. When I first started with Stephen, I used to use Masters crashes, and they just weren't really working. And the biggest Masters I had was an 18, and that's changed massively now. So I got to LA, and we were listening to desk tapes, and it wasn't quite working. So we went to 2002s, and I'd never played 2002s, especially this big. So I'm using a 24-inch crash. I'm using a 22 and a 2002 on the gig. They just work perfectly for the music. It took a bit of getting used to, because cymbals are so big and it's not really what I play, but musically they sound phenomenal, and completely in context with Stephen's music. And they're really versatile as well, which is really important because we're playing for about 3 hours a night and lots of different genres of music. So there's the crashes. In the PSTX line, I also chose the Flanger Stack. Where the Rude stacks are quite tight, I have the Flanger Stack quite loose, so it kind of rings out and gives you that raw, trashy sound. So once again, it can act as secondary hi-hats, or you can have it as almost semi-crashes because it's ringing out so long. Here we go is the little mini Rude stacks, the 8-inch that I spoke about, which are fantastic with the 12s. And my splashes. Now my splashes, I thought long and hard about the splashes on this tour. I always use quite bright splashes, which are great, but I didn't want them to bark so much. So I went for 602 Modern Essentials, quite warm, really, really, really musical cymbal, and I'm using a 10 and an 8 on this gig. And the ride cymbal. Now the ride cymbal was a big thing for me. I need a heavy ride cymbal, and we chose lots. I went through the Rude, that's just a little bit too heavy for me. And I went for the Signature Precision Heavy 22-inch, really musical cymbal. Yes, it's heavy, but also for the kind of softer stuff, you can play mallets on it and rods, and it sounds phenomenal as well. So that was a really, really good addition to my setup, and I'm absolutely thrilled with it. And finally, an old classic, a 2002 Novo. I always wanted the China up by the left, but I didn't want it high. I wanted it quite low. So the way the Novo sits, it sits like that. So you can ride it or you can crash it, and it sounds absolutely mega. So that's my setup for the tour. It's quite extensive, but it's progressive music. It has to be. No, it doesn't. I'm lying. But I'm so happy tonally with what I've got here, and PAISTE have been amazing in supporting me for so many years now. I hope you guys can come check out the tour. Have a look on the PAISTE website, or Stephen Wilson's, or my website. We're touring for the best part of a year. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you out there.